Bitcoin's going to $1 million. Did you throw anything at the screen? Okay, look, I know it's been a rough few weeks, guys, for Bitcoin. I get it. Bitcoin has been in down-only mode. Although the current prices are still insane if we compare them to where we were a year ago. Perspective, right? Recency bias can really cloud your vision to where we are in the market and how to perceive things. In times like this, it can feel harder to be bullish. And a $1 million Bitcoin seems like a distant prospect and an absolute bullshit idea to even talk about. But $1 million is only what? 20x from here, a bit less actually. Not so crazy when you realize that only 4 years ago, we briefly saw a sub $4,000 Bitcoin. That's also nearly a 20x compared to where we were just recently. In this video, I'll take you through a few models that each make their own $1 million Bitcoin price prediction. And I'm here for the $1 million Bitcoin. It's 0 or a million, man. And $1 million may not be that far in the future. And it can help to have something to look forward to, of course, as well, while the market is giving you all these tough battles to fight. Look, as long as central bank money printers keep diluting our purchasing power, Bitcoin will attract money inflows from people who look for a store of value beyond fiat, something comparable to what real estate is currently for many investors. And yeah, okay, Bitcoin's volatile, but it's still a store of value. It only goes up over time. Big time frame. Just look at China in recent months where the real estate market collapsed and retail investors flocked to gold. Why did they flock to gold? I bet a lot more would have bought Bitcoin. It's just not so easily available there right now. Maybe China will get an ETF at some point. Hong Kong did. Talking about gold and real estate, let's compare the size of these and other markets to Bitcoin. Here's a chart of the total market cap of all financial assets. Look at how tiny Bitcoin is. It's a speck of dust. It stores only a fraction of a percent of the total global wealth. It's still roughly 10 times smaller than gold. And gold's moving up in price, so Bitcoin's got to run to catch up. Point being, there's a lot of room to grow for a digital native asset in an increasingly digital world, especially one that's so unique like Bitcoin. A $1 million Bitcoin to put the market cap between gold and the US stock market approximately, which are moving targets again. So by the time we go that direction, those probably have also grown a lot. Now let's turn to some more concrete predictions to get an idea of the big picture. Let's look at some concrete stuff. ARK Invest, the investment fund focused on innovation, looked at different use cases or addressable markets for Bitcoin. For example, will Bitcoin get increasing adoption as a corporate treasury reserve asset in the way that MicroStrategy has used it? Well, we've seen some small companies like the Japanese company Metaplanet, for example. There was a big, I think, Me2 in China. Companies have been doing it. Will we see it as a currency for emerging markets? Well, ARK lists these and others as use cases and estimate the penetration rate for each by 2030. For example, their base case is that 2.5% corporate treasuries in 2030 will consist of Bitcoin. Well, there's no guarantee that this is what's going to happen. It also doesn't seem that outrageous, to be honest, especially if another big company like Tesla, which already has it, or maybe Facebook gets in, adding up the addressable markets in bearish, base, and bullish scenarios. ARK gets at 3 different price targets for 2030. The base case is $682,000 per coin. The bull case, $1.48 million per coin. And they've upped that recently to $3.3 million, by the way. Even the bear case predicts a Bitcoin price above $200,000, which is still a great run from here. Obviously, there are a lot of assumptions here and a lot of uncertainty in going in that direction by 2030, because who knows if the use case of Bitcoin as a corporate treasury asset will really take off, or any of the other use cases they highlight. But the flip side is that BTC can fulfill many use cases at once, and the price target doesn't depend on the success or failure of any one particular use case. If all of them do kind of okay, but one of them doesn't, then we're doing really good. Now, before we get into the Bitcoin power law model, which is a super interesting way to look forward, let me just interrupt the flow real quick to let you know about the Wealth Mastery newsletter, the best newsletter in the crypto industry. My team of researchers, 10 people putting this thing together every week, and I work very hard to bring you the latest and the best opportunities and the best news that's moving the markets, from meme coins, airdrops, DeFi, altcoins, charts, and much, much more. Join our 125,000 weekly readers for free. Yes, I said free, by signing up using the link down below in the description on YouTube or the pinned comment over on X. Okay, time for some technical analysis, and let's zoom out. Here's the Bitcoin power law model, which uses logarithmic scales on both the price axis and the time axis. What the model roughly says is that it takes Bitcoin 50% extra time measured from its genesis to go up another 10 times in value. The model, very interestingly, has held up since BTC was worth pennies. Of course, there are wide uncertainty bands within this volatile range. Price jumps up, price jumps down by wild extremes, but it's the middle green line, the so-called linear regression line, that represents the fair value. And we're currently close to that level. Now, before we get too excited and start looking at when we will reach $1 million, heck, why not $10 million? A warning first. Just know that the fact that the BTC price has followed this model doesn't mean it necessarily will do it forever. To bring this point home, here is the price of Caspa, new cryptocurrency. You might have heard of it, plotted in a power law distribution. You can see Caspa has been holding up for a little over 2 years since its inception. Does this mean that Caspa will also go to $1 million at some point? Probably not. Will Caspa stay in the power law corridor forever? Probably not. Most altcoins will fail after 1 or 2 market cycles. And look, guys, I'm not wishing Caspa aficionados get out of the comment section. Okay, it's just an example. We're not trying to trash on Caspa. It's just an example. Okay, but look, we have to, of course, be realistic about multi-decade potential for some of these assets. Okay, again, as a caveat, before we'll zoom in on the price targets, just know that a model doesn't give an asset some kind of magical powers. Okay, past performance does not equal future performance, et cetera, et cetera. This is also every turkey's, yes, turkey, like the gobble gobble creatures, experience. Its weight and its sense of security also go up in a straight line until they don't anymore right before Thanksgiving. Yeah. Wait, so Lark, are you saying that the Bitcoin price could just drop to zero like the unfortunate turkey? No. Unlike the turkey, Bitcoin is not butchered at Thanksgiving. Bitcoin is a major invention that can't be uninvented. I talked about that in a recent video. You can go and check that out. But there is no way that the world can unsee Bitcoin. This is a tool to protect people against monetary debasement and the seizure of assets by governments, which is becoming more and more relevant every single day. It's also quite unlikely that a competing coin will oust Bitcoin as the leader. It's a protocol, and it has reached escape velocity. Compare it to the protocol for exchanging emails, SMTP. That's been going fine for decades. How likely is it that a different protocol will come up and replace this deeply entrenched protocol? Not super likely. So with the base case that Bitcoin won't go away, central banks won't stop printing money, let's treat ourselves to some well-funded, well-founded opium and zoom in on the power laws model's $1 million date. You can see a $1 million as a fair value for BTC, according to this model, will be reached somewhere in 2032, which is actually very interesting because if you go on the 4-year cycle, that's a bull year. That's a bull year. 2024, 25, then 2028, 29, 2032, 33. Those are the bull market years for the next decade. Okay, mark them down somewhere. Look, 2032 is not even that far away. I can wait. I can wait for that. I'm still going to have my Bitcoin then. Now let's step away from the technicals and think about why the price of Bitcoin would even go up that high. What realistically is going to push it there? What's behind number go up technology? Well, you might have heard about Metcalfe's law, which is a way to assess the value of communication networks, which Bitcoin is a monetary communication network. The law states that the value of a network grows exponentially with the number of users. The question then becomes, how fast does the number of Bitcoin addresses grow? And how can we project that growth into the future? Well, here's a chart of different technologies getting adopted, such as telephones, internet users, stuff like that. You see that BTC is on a similar steep trajectory as previous success stories have been. These charts, by the way, are all by Jurian Timmer from Fidelity. The company, which has one of the biggest Bitcoin ETFs, by the way, Fidelity, Bitcoin Bulls, BlackRock, Bitcoin Bulls. Zoom in a bit here too. On this chart from a few months ago, the number of Bitcoin addresses with a balance greater than $1. The orange line is below the mobile phone growth model and even slightly below the internet users model. But Bitcoin is still on trend and it has not broken its own adoption curve. It's still going up. Jurian Timmer also notes that in his view, it's not just adoption that correlates with price, but also so-called real rates. This means that the more interest rates are above consumer price inflation, the worse it is for BTC. With positive real rates, money floods to money market funds where people get real yield on their dollars. On the other hand, whenever interest rates are below inflation rates, people see no point in saving and, of course, then flock over to risk assets such as tech stocks and crypto. Although recently, we've seen an inversion of this where we have the interest rates above inflation and crypto's booming, tech stocks booming, etc. Now, another way to look at this is that the Fed's interest rate policy can accelerate or slow down the rate of adoption. So Timmer on this chart draws two lines of projected adoption. The projection is based on how fast the internet in the past was adopted. The top one is based on minus 2% real rates and the bottom at 2.5% plus real rates, which is, by the way, where we are right now with around 5% or a little over 5%. So when will we reach $1 million? Well, I have not found this model on a chart that extends to $1 million BTC price, but considering the slope that we see here in the logarithmic y-axis, it points to the early 2030s, which is something all this evidence proof here in this video is something I've been saying for a long, long time. 2030s, we're going to see $1 million Bitcoin. And you got to remember that you're going to see a lot of people calling for $1 million Bitcoin when Bitcoin goes up to 200K. It's going to $1 million next. And a lot of people get trapped and they don't take any profits in the market and screw themselves over once again. $1 million Bitcoin's coming, but it's not coming probably until the 2030s. So look, Bitcoin as a financial asset, I believe, has a lot of room to grow before it reaches levels comparable to its more mature siblings like gold. Its price growth will depend on adoption rates and the degree to which central banks continue to print fiat and to set interest rates, which, given their history, is going to be significant. But based on some models by renowned institutional analysts, it seems totally possible that Bitcoin reaches the $1 million price target in the early 2030s, or in the most bullish scenarios, even just before 2030, maybe 2029's bull market. We shall see. My money, though, 2032, 2033. That sounds like a good time. Thanks for watching.